fans, welcome back to 237, back with another review. As I continue my marathon of more extreme horror, more extreme films, and for this video we're going, yet again, back to Germany, as I've done for a number of films in this marathon. And like some other ones I've done, this isn't really an extreme film. Some of the deaths might be a little bit more extreme than what you might see, but it is a splatter film. So this is technically more like a film by Olaf Wittenbach than, say, Jörg Budgeriet. And there is a series of these, and I did get the series. Title really lets you know what it is, and it's 1989's Violent Shit. Yeah, that's the name. Because Synapse released the Violent Shit collection, which it has the first 4 films, including like a bonus movie called Zombie 90 Extreme Pestilence, which I believe was from the same director. It doesn't have Violent Shit, the movie, which was put out by a bigger company. I can't remember which one. I want to say Trauma, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure people will let me know that they know it down in the comments. But yeah. Like the films of Ittenbach or Jörg BG, as I call him, this is shot on video, or shot on shitio, as I call it. But those movies seem to have a better camera, a higher quality camera. This is standard definition. Like, this is what home movies were shot on, and it looks it. Now, I'm not going to be as harsh on this movie as I've been in the past with other shot-on-video films, because, you know, you go back to my reviews for Las Vegas Bloodbath or Garden Tool Massacre, you know, I'm kind of relentless. But I've since learned that harping on a shot-on-video movie for its production quality is kind of pointless. I mean, it's going to be bad no matter what, like what you expect. So aside from all that, there really isn't a whole lot to this movie. I mean, it was directed by, I believe his name is Andreas Schnaas, if I pronounced that correctly. He directed all 4 Violent Shit films. I believe that Zombie 90 film, but he also directed Anthropophagus 2000, the remake of Anthropophagus, or I shouldn't say remake because it was before 2003, but yeah, and produced by the Violent Shitters. Stars Carl Inger, and then a bunch of other people I don't really need to say because they all die. Carl Inger as Carl the Butcher Shitter. You know, this guy. He's really the only character throughout. There's not even like a final girl or a recurring character. Steve Aquilina did the cinematography and the editing. I will say I have a bone to pick with the editing. And Mickey Engels provided the music, which I will say the music was probably the best part of this. It did have kind of, dare I say, kind of reminded me of like a main menu in a Silent Hill game kind of music. However, I think this has a different soundtrack on it, because I know the original cut of the film has the songs Red Red Wine and The Torture Never Stops by Wasp. This doesn't have Red Red Wine, and the heavy metal song towards the end is not the one by Wasp. So I don't know if there was a soundtrack change somewhere down the line, but whatever. Now, and it says it was put out by Real Gore Films or Real Gore Productions in Blood Pictures. It came out in 1989. The good thing is it's only 75 minutes, which all of these films, I mean, that says 75. This says 73, 74, 79, 78, 76. They're all under 80 minutes, so that's good. Now, the story, if I could call it that, it really reminded me of Don't Go in the Woods, where extremely thin plot, you know, group of friends goes out in the woods, there's a hermit killer out there, and We always cut away from the friends to see some random character that we've never seen before just to see them get killed in a very bloody way. That's exactly what this is. Uh, well, it opens up with the kid playing ball by himself. He goes home. Mother yells at him behind a closed door. He walks out with the cleaver. He killed his mother. Jump 20 years later. He's being transported from one place to another. Kills the people in the van. Escapes. Is able to get his hands on a cleaver. And then every person we cut to is just to see them encounter him and be killed. And it is pretty bloody. I mean, I will give it that. I think it tried to sell itself on the idea that all the blood and gore was real animal blood and real animal guts. The guts and organs, I could buy. The blood, no, because it is that, I mean, go to any Italian film that has that thick, vibrant red paint blood. This looks more like orange tomato paste. But, depending on whatever surface it was landing on, it still looked kind of cool. I mean, obviously fake, but I didn't mind the look of it. And no matter what he's doing to the body, it is this constant spray and mist blood. I mean, almost like a very low quality version of like a Tarantino effect. But that's it. Just this guy escapes. He's out in the woods and encounters all these people that he kills. And this mask that has been kind of, I was going to say synonymous or iconic with the entire series, this sort of Quiet Riot type mask, doesn't even appear in this film. Not once. He's just this guy that kind of lumbers around like Igor, has these different deformities on his face that gets worse throughout the film. Doesn't say what it is or how he gets them. I figured it was claw marks from his victims, but I don't know. And that's the movie. That is it. Now, the editing, which I said I had a problem with, it's pretty abysmal. For one, they really like slow motion. It'll constantly, even at random times, even in the same scene or movement, it'll switch to this slow motion or this other kind of slow motion where it's kind of glitchy, like every other frame is gone. But there's also this filter, I don't know what it's called, but it seems like all the colors are pixelated, or like all the same color is solid, so it has this almost like, you know, I know an iMovie, I think it's called pop art, has that kind of look to it. Or almost like the contrast or something is turned all the way up or down, and it gets more intense sometimes. It just keeps going to all these different editing techniques. It has a lot of circle cuts. You know, like the scene will be a circle, then it'll zoom in or open back out. Cutting from scene to scene, it will just zoom in on something, and then boom, we're in the next scene where it just pulls back. So the editing is pretty awful. I mean, aside from everything else. The acting, I'm not even going to comment on because it's as bad as you would imagine. Again, the score, I really did not mind. I thought the score was fine. The effects, I mean, the practical effects, like the intestines and organs, they looked pretty cool. Now, I guess talking about some of the deaths, I mean, every time he stabs someone with a cleaver, like I said, it's just spraying, misting geyser of blood. There's, like, hacking off limbs, decapitations. He even decapitates a guy, then cuts his head in half this way. All kinds of that. Even a scene where he cuts a guy in half, and he drags the legs, but, like, he loses grip of one leg, so the legs just kind of go like this. And you can tell there's boards or something in the pant legs to help keep them straight. and like down at his waist, there's like a square looking like it's holding the shirt down. It is cool, and I do like watching some of these like non-existent budget films shot on video films just to see how they pull off some kind of effect. Uh, there's the scene where he kills this one woman, stabs her in the vagina, cuts up into her stomach, then reaches in, pulls all her intestines out, and will keep like grabbing the sides to stretch it open more. The only kind of plot it tries to give it is occasionally it will show some sort of hallucination. Like, before he killed his mother, it showed her locking him in the cellar, and he's approached by some demon character. Imagine Hagrid with like, it looked, I don't know if it was supposed to be a face or a mask, but like this part of his face looked like melted skin colored plastic, like a melted action figure. But I think they're supposed to be horns, but they look like action figure arms going the wrong way. Talking about how he, I want you to kill her. I want her dead. He's wearing some like old Victorian Dracula suit with a cloak where when he opens it, there's like faces in it. I thought that looked cool. And then he has a hallucination out in the woods of Jesus up on the cross that he cuts open and then crawls inside. We get the shot of him trying to crawl through, and then the shot outside Jesus where just his legs are sticking out, kicking. But like the editing, when it goes into that weird coloration, like where everything's, I guess, overly saturated, that and slow motion, that when we actually see something natural, like how it looks, it's kind of refreshing. It's kind of, oh, thank God. No effects or anything. It just looks normal. That's not good. It's like they found out how to do these little effects or filters and then just went heavy with them. In fact, all the credits and text is like the typical VHS type titling. And then it just ends with somehow him laying on the ground. He's kind of picking at his face, then he like rips his stomach open and a baby comes out. Guessing it's a hallucination. But not really, because I think, yeah, because Carl Jr., again, the baby he gave birth to, is the killer pretty much from here on out, I think. And I think it's supposed to take place in the 70s, but I think all the cars are from the 80s. So they didn't really do a good job there. God, there's so much padding in this movie, even just to get it to 73, 75 minutes. Long scenes of just a shot of the windshield when someone's driving and just where they're driving. Almost like, I know in the original version when Red Red Wine plays, it's her driving to the gas station, her walking in and walking out, pumping gas, driving away. Towards the end when the Wasp song plays, it's just non-stop driving at night with just headlights on the road. That's all it is, just driving around with that song. So there's a ton of padding. It is kind of hard to tell sometimes what's going on with the kills, because anytime the killer, even when he's walking, like when he's on screen, it does that slow-mo or that really sort of glitchy, every other frame is missing kind of slow-mo. Very distracting. But overall, yeah, it's one of those movies where you go into it knowing it's shit, but it does have this quality to it where, I can see why some people might think it's so bad it's good, or so bad it's funny or silly. It is cool or fun to put in just to see how these people are going to get cut up, different, how they pulled off their effects, even if it's done poorly. I still commend it for that. I could see this being used at a party, either to like show people like, hey, look how ridiculous this is, or as like a background type movie. And it really does feel like these guys just had a day off. They're like, hey, let's go make a movie. And they just kept doing it. And then at the end, they just looked at whatever kind of editing they had at their disposal, and then worried about story later. Like, oh, he escaped, so let's just shoot that. That's all I got for violent shit. That's all I can say about it. Out of curiosity, and since I did buy the set, I will go through all of these. I'll probably even do the zombie movie it came with, just because it came with it. But, yeah. I kind of wish it came with Violent Shit, the movie. But I think that was actually directed by someone else, put up by a different company. But whatever. So yeah, that's the first of this series, just Violent Shit. So stay tuned for part 2 and the rest. And I still do have a couple more extreme films coming, so stay tuned for those. And thank you for watching.